All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Can't believe it. This is a live offering to you.
What is happening?
What is going on?
Mark Thompson, is it you? Are you live?
What?
It is me. And I am going to get this show started live. Then I got to dance to do another show on KFI Radio. But I will, believe me, I adore you. I adore this environment, audience, platform. I wish I could stay longer, but we will get some stuff going. There's just so much going on, and I will share a couple of details. I got a great email that I'll share with you as well. So there's a lot of sharing that's going to go on in the next few minutes. Albert, what is the word, commish? How are you, Albert?
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. Albert is a producer of the show.
Time. Yeah. Enjoying a new opportunity for the Niners to win this week.
That's true. Niners can bounce back. The positive spin on the Niners blowout, essentially, at the hands of the Ravens is it's the, quote, wake-up call they needed. Maybe it'll be good for them to have experienced that. So I, of course, would have liked to have seen total domination until the Super Bowl, but to whatever extent it helps the team, great. It's a terrific. It's a terrific. I'm sorry. There are a few things going on here. It's a terrific luxury to be able to pop in here.
Hey,
and,
it's the last Mark Thompson show of 2023.
That is right.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Yeah, I forgot. It really is. This is it.
We've done a full year of shows in 2023.
This is your last chance for a super sticker or super chat. Think about it that way. See, I see what I did? Thank you.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Always pitching.
Mm-hmm.
ABP. Always be pitching.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool to have everybody in the mix. I did get I don't know if you want to get into politics to whatever extent you do, but I did get hang on a second. Let me see what Lori has to say. Let me put on my credibility glasses.
You might not want to see what Lori has to
Mark
say.
T, is this a preview of New Year's resolution to start the show on time? Lori never, how dare you? First of all, Lori. They took my what button, Albert. I don't have it anymore. I don't think.
What?
Oh, I think, they moved it because I lost a whole machine.
What?
There you go. Yeah. Now, a new machine is on order, and it will be delivered, I think, in the next week. We will continue to do shows, but there is...
I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
It is hard with one machine tied behind my back to do this show. But...
and this is their new hoax.
Okay. Well, I am... speaking of Donald Trump, there is a big news, and I can just share this.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Donald Trump, as you know, has been removed from the ballot in Maine. Kim, you have so many of the details, but I think notable in those details is that this is different than the Colorado case. And here's the difference. The Colorado case, and you've heard David Katz talk about this, actually involved a sort of due process. Mm-hmm. There was evidence provided. There was a court adjudicating based on evidence and argument. In Maine, you don't have that. You have the Secretary of State evaluating Donald Trump and his actions in relation to an insurrection, and you have the determination made by the Secretary of State that Donald Trump, the prime mover of that insurrection, shouldn't be on the ballot. And whether or not you consider Donald Trump the prime mover, or whether you consider Donald Trump having provided aid such that he let the insurrection go on without any sort of involvement of law enforcement, et cetera. However you do the calculation or however you frame the issue, the determination was made by the Secretary of State that Trump was, there were enough Trump fingerprints on it that Trump should be removed from the ballot. So that's important because a lot's being made of that Trump wasn't given due process and, this sort of thing.
Well, she stayed her decision pending the situation winding through the courts. She said she fully expected the Trump administration or the Trump campaign to appeal, and they said they would. So she stayed her decision. She expects the court to rule on the matter.
I see. So I'm sorry. So when you say she stayed her decision, this is new. You're saying that
No.
So,
This came out yesterday. Yeah.
Well, she stayed her decision though. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that Trump is still on the ballot or not?
She stayed her decision until the court can handle it. Yeah.
So Trump is still on the Maine ballot.
Well, he's not because they haven't printed a ballot yet. There's nobody on the ballot right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh,
really?
You're sorry.
Is that what's? I mean.
What?
Hold on. Let me pull out
I'm asking you.
of the Maine
Well,
ballot.
they haven't printed the ballot, so technically nobody's on it. Is that what you're going to do to me? You're going to smart ass me? I'm like, I came here as a favor.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Thank you, Albert.
Oh,
this is outrageous. Kim, you can see, this is what happens. Kim comes in, she just wants to Bigfoot. So I come in, I ask a legitimate question, and she did, they haven't printed any ballots, so technically nobody's on it. No, okay, you're right. So maybe that's a bigger headline. Nobody's on the Maine ballot. Oh, gosh. Albert, did you tweet today that we're on the air?
No, I'm on it right now.
No is the answer.
15 shows, and no one asked Albert once if there was a tweet that was happening.
Exactly. You know why? Because you guys don't give a damn if there's any kind of social media presence on that show. That's something else that's going to change in the new year.
Oh God, he's on a rampage.
It's about time that why do I have to? My back hurts from carrying this show every day.
So much caffeine. Let me read you the quote.
I did have 11 shots of espresso this morning, so it is true. That's not.
Believe it. Let me read you the quote from Ms. Bellows, who is.
Before you read me the quote, I want to quickly give a shout out to Asley.
Okay.
Or Asley. I like Asley.
Asley.
Can we put it up there, Albert, please? Super sticker from Asley, and that is huge. It is $50. And let me say, Asley.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not gonna, but my credibility glasses are fogging up. I'm not going to cry.
I'm not going to cry.
But I love that you step up, just as I have today. Asley and I have something in common, Kim. Something in common.
Asley worked
and that
here,
is that we both stepped up today.
Yeah, she would have tweeted. Totally would have tweeted.
She would have tweeted. She would have had the information. She wouldn't have smart-assed me on the main question. Asley is my kind of person.
Asley, the Mark Thompson Show is hiring in 2024.
Are we ever? Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Love you, Asley. Thank you very, very much. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, super stickers and super chats are live, but Asley really has set the bar high with $49.99. So
that was really cool.
Thank you. Very cool. Now, I'm sorry, Kim, please continue.
So Bellows, who's a Democrat who issued this decision as the Secretary of State in Maine, says, and here's her quote.
My words upset so many people.
No, that's not what she
said.
That's
not what she said, Alfred.
She said, I do not reach this conclusion lightly. Democracy is sacred. I am mindful that no Secretary of State has ever deprived a presidential candidate of a ballot access based on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. I am also mindful, however, that no presidential candidate has ever before engaged in insurrection.
Yeah, I read that quote before, but that's good. I'm glad you shared it. The deal is, though, that doesn't really, it speaks to what motivated the action, but it doesn't speak to what will ultimately happen as a result of the action. What is this? Excuse me, my credibility glasses need to be.
What's this?
TIFF M. Now, is it TIFF MLA or TIFF MLA? What is it? How would you say it, Kim?
I would
say you seem to know everything.
Well, see, if it's a capital letter, I would actually say the letter. So I would
Kim,
say
how are you?
TIFF MLA.
TIFF MLA is what you would say it.
Yeah.
Well, I want it to be said correctly because she's given us $49.99.50. Yeah, Asley and Tiff both stepping up. I'm not going to cry.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
close to crying, though.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I may, this is a completely publicly funded effort. There is no sponsorship that keeps us on the air. We have these little sponsorships that help along the way, but we are nothing without you. Mm-hmm. And you are stepping up. Tiff, big shout out.
Big shout out.
And I'd like to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I thought I'm a little British. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ricky says, love the donors. Rock on, Ricky. Ricky's really cool. I want to say this at the end of the year. Ricky's really cool. Also, Tiff, thank you again. Really, big shout out again.
Big shout
to
out.
both of you. Az and Tiff. Ricky O'Bear is great because he goes on after we've been on, watches and replay, and comments on a lot of the videos. Yeah. And that, believe it or not, helps in the YouTube algorithm as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so really appreciate that. And he's really, there he is again. Hit the thumbs up button and then subscribe. Exactly. So if you're just joining us, today is a little bit of a weird day because Kim is essentially hosting the show during the time I'm away. But I'm back to at least
start things off.
Start things off, exactly.
I have you for 4 more minutes. So let me lambast
Wait,
you.
Calvin says, please fund the mark. My luggage was ripped off and my iPad broke. Fund. Yeah.
It's true.
The luggage is still missing and the iPad's still broken. Go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
I was just going to tell you because you didn't, we were talking about the decision being stayed. So the decision is put on hold until Maine's Superior Court, a trial level court, makes a ruling. It's the next level to appeal, and the Maine law mandates the Superior Court has to make a decision on that within 20 days from Thursday. So by January 17th, they have to make that choice.
Well, and to your point about printing up the ballots, there is a practical aspect to that. So they do need to, weigh in on this before those ballots are printed, but that does explain it. So good stuff. Look, there are 2 positions on this at minimum.
And
they're essentially, what?
The right one and the wrong one? Have you come around yet?
It's not the right one and the wrong one, Kim, but
okay.
There are 2 positions I would suggest on this question. If you've watched David Katz, I think he speaks quite eloquently on this issue on our show. He comes in on Thursdays. He's the constitutional lawyer, former federal prosecutor. Now he's a defense lawyer, and he offered legal analysis. Essentially, the legal analysis was this. The idea that you worry about removing a candidate because it sets a precedent for the removal of future candidates, which is sort of what my argument was, to be honest. I worry about removing candidates from ballots as a result of what seems to be a fiat, a decision that's made by one person. That's what this is, right? The Secretary of State, notwithstanding the statement, notwithstanding the evidence, et cetera. But ultimately, the decision is made not as a result of trial. It's made as a result of one person and their judgment. So Katz's point was, yes, but the reality is that Trump was behind this insurrection, and that you can say, well, this law, clause, loophole will be used to remove other candidates. But in this case, the threat is so real, the evidence so damning, that Trump should be removed from the ballot. And for that reason, David Katz didn't have a problem with it. And I think, honestly, and that's your position essentially as well, right, Kim?
Yeah, so egregious. We've never seen this before. Who else is going to, strike up an insurrection band? That, of course, if the Constitution gives us the wherewithal to protect ourselves, gives America the wherewithal to protect itself as the democracy we know and love, absolutely. Here we have the law of the land. Use it.
I think the David Katz argument, which Kim has sort of just also signed on to, and she's to be fair, that's been her position all along. I think it is powerful. It is powerful that we've just been through a real attempt to overthrow the process. And because that attempt is real, we have to respond in some real way. And the Constitution has provided an instrument for that. Now, like so many checks on executive power that we saw during the Trump administration, for example, the ownership of that hotel that essentially became a money machine for anyone who had any business before the executive branch. I mean, it really was a violation of, every, what is it, protocol, process, and process, protocol?
Processes and protocols and standards.
Exactly, that's it, process, protocols. It's a violation of that and the emolument clause and all these other things if you wanted to go with it in that direction. Yeah. But this also may be a flawed instrument, to the extent that it is used and enforced, just as though the executive branch, there were so many things going on there under the Trump administration, and they weren't really enforced, like the emoluments clause, as I was saying. So, long way of saying, I think I agree that I'd like to see a case brought the way Colorado brought it. Yeah. Not just a person who's in a position to remove somebody from the ballot, remove that person from the ballot. So I like the Colorado way of doing it, not the Maine way of doing it.
Well, then you'll be very happy with Governor Gavin Newsom and our Secretary of State. They both say courts have to get involved before Trump comes off the California ballot.
I think that's fair. It really is. I mean, so wait a minute. I've got my credibility glasses right here.
And you have to go because I'm going to keep you on your schedule.
Calvin, this is shadow producer Calvin Wong, everybody. 5150. I care, Mark. He's big shout out to Calvin.
Big shout out.
And I'm not going to cry, Calvin.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
But you are a special kind of guy. Yeah. And thank you very much.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
I get all your email, and you're pretty terrific. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So you have to go. You're out.
I do, but I want to share an email that I got.
Okay.
Because this email speaks to the controversy over Nikki Haley and what's going on with her. And I wanted to...
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is an email I got about Nikki Haley and the whole controversy about the start of the Civil War, why there was a Civil War, causes of the Civil War. She's saying, of course, that was a Democratic plant, that they're, that's the... So what if it is? I mean, maybe it was a Democratic. It's still not a super hard question to answer, except to be fair to Nikki Haley. I mean, to be fair is like the wrong phrase to use, but you can decode so easily what's happening with Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is a South Carolinian governor, okay? She is a former governor. She is someone who still has that constituency for whom the war isn't even over, okay? I'll remind you about Nikki Haley. She takes a victory lap on having taken down Confederate statues, but she was against taking down Confederate statues back in 2015 or whenever. I mean, there was a controversy about them, and she came down on the wrong side. Leave those Confederate statues up. So that's what's going on in the mind of Nikki Haley, which is pretty obvious. I mean, the more you saw her hem and haw, and the more you saw her avoid it. Anyway, this is interesting. This comes from a listener, doesn't identify themselves, but I think they make a good point. And it's actually addressed to Kim in for Mark. So this is somebody who is watching you.
Okay.
It's not a stupid question to ask what the reason for the Civil War is. In the southern states, this person goes on, you have to say the reason is, quote, states' rights. They will not say the reason is slavery, as we do in the West. Nikki Haley didn't want to upset the South and the Trumpers. This is what I was saying. Yeah. You can see that clearly the case, right? They have to have everything about themselves. They want to hear that it's about rights for all of us, right? They just feel challenged, and it's all about them and fear of losing their lifestyles, to quote the others. Many of these folks have felt out of the mainstream for a long time. They want to feel their rights will be protected. They are afraid of people of color are taking their lives away. They cannot say it was about slavery, as then it is not about them. I went to my grandfather's home in Kentucky, they continue with this email, a few years back. This is in Kentucky, according to this person. In the Appalachians, poor miners. I was asked what we were taught in California schools about why we fought the Civil War. I wanted to say, quote, slavery, but knew better. So I chirped in states' rights. Oh, I made them so happy. Yes, you do get some truths in California. It was not a dumb question to ask her. She couldn't even say to keep the Union together. It's about states' rights to have slavery. And that is what the next election is about.
That's what
here it is.
Digital Indra.
Jackie.
Digital Indra says states' rights to do what exactly?
Exactly. And so this is Jackie says this at the end of her email.
Yeah.
It's about states' rights to have slaves.
Right.
And that is what the next election is about. That's from Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. Love the show. Listen every day. I'm trying to. Okay, go ahead.
And I appreciate it because I did say it was a stupid question that the person had asked, because in my mind, and perhaps it's from my little bubble here in the West, in the Bay Area, this is old news. The cause of the Civil War, asked and answered years and decades and hundreds of years ago. Like, we get it. We know. So why someone would hop up, and she did say, Nikki Haley, that was a plant from the Democrats that was in my audience. So,
yeah.
I mean, why ask her that? Like, what would motivate you to ask somebody that?
Well, I mean, I think it's just this way to expose Nikki Haley as someone who, I mean, Nikki Haley is essentially she's a right winger with smoother edges, and she also really plays to the room she's speaking in.
Yep.
She changes her position or softens her position for her audience. But what was exposed there, and I think this is the reason the question's asked, is the fact that it has one foot on first base all the time because she knows her constituency is that. She is a South Carolinian. Look, she's someone who won't even rule out being Donald Trump's vice president.
Yeah.
She was asked point blank, would you be vice president? She goes, what is this conversation? I think we have to stop talking about Trump. We obsess about Trump, and I intend to win this primary and move on to be the president of the United States.
But she didn't say no.
But if it didn't work out, would you be, again, and then she goes on, I don't want to obsess about Donald Trump. I think we have to, so that's who Nikki Haley is. She's worried about angering the MAGA supporters, and she's worried about currying favor with the former president, Donald Trump, because she might very well serve in the next administration as vice president. Yep. So I think those are the realities on Nikki Haley. Digital Indra says the sad thing about Haley is that she stands for nothing. She's a creature who simply wants power for power's sake. I don't know if it's power for power's sake or she has her own agenda, but she definitely, it's not that I would take issue with that. I get your point, Digital Indra, but I'd say she does stand for things, and the things she stands for are dangerous. But you're right in that you can't pin her down, if that was your point. So, Kim,
you got to go. You're going to be late
great.
for work.
Look at Kim really working me out the door, Albert.
I
she
know.
really has gotten used to
out.
She has gotten, if she can't cancel people from the chat,
sucker.
she really does.
Kim, I've already kicked one person out today, so we're on her. We're moving in.
You're right, sir. Michael Snyder coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll have Michael Shure or not. You might not. He's very tough.
We'll see.
We're not sure about Shure. Well. Oh, no, he will be there. Yeah, awesome. I emailed her, he says. Yeah, okay. Michael Shure will be here. So you got...
That's not fake. That's real.
Real political analysis coming up. Albert, have you tweeted yet?
I have. It was a good one.
All right.
It's retweetable.
Okay.
Go to work already. Get out.
Albert, thank you.
Kim has developed a little bit of a hard edge, hasn't she, Albert? Have you noticed that?
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Maybe that was the New Year's resolution. She's starting a little early.
I see. All right. All right. Bye, kids. Thank you.
I love you. Thank you for coming in.
See you. And Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the support.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
I mean, if it were up to me, I'd keep Mark Thompson for the whole entire show. But he said
it is called the Mark Thompson Show.
It is, but he said I'll stay till 11:15, and then I gotta go. It's 11:25, and now I'm worried he's going to be late for work. You see, I'm a mom at heart. I can't help it. Well, before we get to some news, I wanted to show you pictures of the waves yesterday that pummeled us across California, from Southern California to Northern. Let's take a look at Mavericks. This is off the coast of San Mateo County here in the Bay Area, an area notorious for monster waves. And yesterday, wow, they did not disappoint. There were actual surfers out there. Look at those waves. I mean, crazy. They were setting it up. Oh, hello, Progressive. Yeah, they were setting it up for big, big waves out at Mavericks. Also in Santa Cruz and Capitola, a year ago, we had flooding and storm surges that knocked out the wharf. The wharf is under repair. And yesterday, some big, big waves came in yet again and checked out right on the, that's Mavericks. Yeah, look at that. Those are some big, big waves. People were standing along the shore, but there were some surfers out there like that dude who decided they were going to come here, and they watch the weather and they know the waves are going to be big. They were saying some of these waves were 50 to 60 feet tall. That's what they were saying. So I don't know why you would go out there like that, but hey, yeah, look at that. So pretty cool. Let's check out the waves in Santa Cruz to that next video, because here's what happened down at the wharf again. And you can see the equipment that's being used to fix everything. And here it is coming again with the rogue waves, the big waves that come in and inundate the wharf area. Check this out. Yeah. Yeah. This is kind of a small picture, but you can see the waves. Here it is. There's a broken part. And there's already a crane out there to try to get everything fixed. Just big waves coming in and pummeling the wharf. In Southern California, another big problem. This is in Ventura County. At least 8 or 9 people sent to the hospital after this wave crashed. People were standing on a cliffside high up enough they thought that they were safe from the waves, but no. I don't know if we have the video of this one, but this is on the Sonoma County or let's go to the Sonoma County coast, Albert. This, this pretty bad. Waves crashing. You can see the pictures on this one. Waves crashing along the Sonoma County coast, and people standing on this cliff. And you wouldn't think that you would be at risk of being inundated by the water, but even in Sonoma County, yep, pummeled by the waves. So it was really across the state this going on. Look at that. I mean, there's the people. You can see them standing there right on top of the cliff, and man, that's Capitola. These women just right. Yeah, so a lot of people affected by the storm surges. We have to show the video of Ventura County. This is wild. People watching along the shore thinking they're back far enough and safe. They were not. And this is the video where 9 people were injured, even cars at risk of being washed over the cliff and out to sea. So pretty dramatic video from the Ventura County coast in Southern California. Let's take a look at what we have to see here. In a moment. We'll get it in a moment.
Yeah, I'm still there's just a whole bunch of ads.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk over the ads, but yeah, this is, I mean, I guess people knew the waves were going to be big, but you never know exactly how big the waves are going to be. So yeah, check it out. It's pretty powerful. Look at the cars getting caught in there, people running for their lives, because the last thing you want is to get sucked right out to sea, but you feel powerless when this happens. So crazy. All right, let's do a little bit of news, and then we'll get to Friday Fabulous Florida and John Daly coming in. So do we have any alligators this time, Albert?
I'm not sure. I think there's a story with a lot of them, a lot of animals.
Okay.
So.
All right, we'll bring it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. Former President Trump will not be on Maine's 2024 Republican primary ballot, at least for now. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows announcing this decision yesterday, saying Trump encouraged violence during the January 6th Capitol riot. The former president is expected to appeal the decision, just as he's appealing the Colorado Supreme Court's recent ruling to remove him from the ballot there. Israeli tanks and warplanes are reportedly targeting central and southern Gaza as the Israel-Hamas war approaches the 12-week mark. Reports say the attacks are driving away Palestinians who already evacuated other areas. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says today's attacks are an essential stage in the mission to destroy Hamas. Mayors in sanctuary cities like New York City, Denver, and Chicago trying to reduce the flow of migrants being bussed in from Texas. Democratic mayors are slamming Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott for his actions, also criticizing the Biden administration for not doing more. Abbott says his state is overwhelmed with the migrant crisis. There's a ban on the sale of gas-powered lawnmowers, leaf blowers, and similar tools going into effect New Year's Day in California. The state is trying to move toward electric or battery-powered landscaping equipment. Gas-powered generators, pressure washers, and other large equipment will be banned in 2028. The song America Has a Problem by Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar is among former President Obama's favorites of 2023. Country and Latin tunes also made his annual list this year. Movie favorites included the biopic Oppenheimer and one of his favorite books from this year, The Heaven and Earth Grocery by James McBride. So President Obama, former President Obama, always coming out with his list of favorites. A federal judge in California is ruling against Elon Musk's X Corporation, says a new state law does not violate freedom of speech. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill in 2022 requiring social media platforms to moderate toxic content like hate speech, disinformation, harassment, and extremism. Companies are also required to report data about the enforcement of their policies on toxic content. The judge saying, yep, that looks okay. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says decisions about transgender care for minors should be made by the child's parents and doctors and not by the government. The governor vetoing a state bill that would have restricted transgender care for minors and trans girls participating on school sports teams. DeWine joining Arkansas governor and GOP presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson as the only two Republican governors to stop restrictions on gender-affirming care. Well, the National Weather Service says parts of the California coast can expect large waves and dangerous rip currents throughout the weekend. San Francisco could see waves as high as 40 feet. Officials in Southern California say 9 people in Ventura County had to be hospitalized after getting hit by massive waves. Yeah, as again, we just saw that video. So the danger is not over. Do be aware that the waves here in California will be a problem throughout the weekend. Box office, Wonka, the winner of the Thursday box office race, the film starring Timothée Chalamet as a young Willy Wonka, made $8 million yesterday, moving its domestic total to more than $110 million so far. In second place, the animated Migration made $6.5 million Thursday, taking its domestic total to more than $37 million. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom came in at third with just under $6 million, and The Color Purple fourth with more than $3 million made on Thursday. And the rom-com Anyone But You finished in fifth yesterday, grossing just under $3 million. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Moments ago, my husband burst into the studio saying, hey, that holiday blend, it's awesome. So thumbs up of approval for the holiday blend. If you want it, time is running out because I don't know how long it will be available. The holiday blend at Coachella Valley Coffee is still for sale. I think you can still grab it. And again, the teas, about $9.95 a bag, so $10 a bag of tea, lasts for quite a while. And they have some really, really great tea blends at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Get your Mark Thompson Show 10% off at checkout by typing Mark T all together at the end there. Mark T at checkout. The website again, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, it is time for Friday Fabulous Florida. And to do this and rubberneck at Florida, we'll bring on our favorite former fabulous producer, John Daly. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim. Hi, Albert. Albert, have you tweeted about the show?
No.
Actually,
yeah.
You just said that to get rid of him, right?
Yeah.
Although I have to point out,
I did tweet, though.
Yeah, I was in the green room, in the makeup chair, and I have to mention that Mark said that he was doing you a favor by showing up to his own show. I thought that was the most Hollywood. Well, he said, I'm doing you a favor by showing up. So I thought that was the most Hollywood
Hey, which one do you use,
statement.
Mark Thompson?
That's the most Hollywood statement of 2023. I showed up to my own show as a favor to you.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny.
Very celebrity of him. Very celebrity.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this started. It is Friday, Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Last Friday Fabulous Florida of 2023. We're going to make it a good one.
This is going to be a good one.
A Florida man accused of walking into an unlocked apartment and stealing vodka and orange juice. Yeah, that's how this begins. So this happened in Polk County, Florida. Deputies there said
Polk County?
Polk, as in Polk Street in San Francisco.
Okay.
Deputies in Polk County say this man faces charges after
that was an orange joke, by the way.
Oh, was it? Oh, like yeah, got it. Sorry, went right over my head, and there you have it. He's accused of walking into an unlocked apartment and stealing the ingredients to make a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta have one.
You use a screwdriver to get a screwdriver.
Toby Foster allegedly entering an apartment about 5:30 in the morning and made off with a bottle of Svedka vodka.
I was going to say that looks like Svedka.
And yes, it is.
It is.
A bottle of Florida's natural orange juice.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that
if you're
there's
going to steal vodka,
involved.
don't steal the Svedka.
The victim told deputies the door used by the suspect is a secondary store they don't often use. They had no idea that it was unlocked. This burglar stole the ingredients to make a screwdriver and left. Detectives say he tried to open the door of the apartment across the hallway, but that one was locked, so he left. The total value of the theft, $35. But Foster turned himself in after the video of the theft was posted on social media.
And I should point out that is strawberry lemonade Svedka. So that's not even regular vodka flavor, non-flavored. So it's strawberry lemonade.
Clearly didn't know what he was
doing.
doing.
You a Svedka guy, John?
Well, I worked at a bar that had like 95% Svedka at one point because when they introduced it to the market, they were fighting Absolute. So they're giving all the bars like deals. So you would see Svedka everywhere.
Is Svedka the good stuff or no?
No, it's like it's in the middle. It's like kinda at the level of Absolute. It's around there, but it is a little lower.
Yeah.
They have a lot of flavors. It's really fruity.
Next, a Florida woman smashes a man's taillight after he refuses to pay her for sexual favors.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Iron rod, huh?
You got to use what the Lord gave you.
You take Viagra and smash it.
This happened on Christmas Eve, a very happy Merry Christmas. This woman allegedly smashing a man's taillight when he refused to pay her, according to an arrest affidavit from the Lake County Sheriff's Office.
He arose to such a clatter.
Yes, he did. 23-year-old Hanifa Hossein arrested and charged with criminal mischief after this incident.
She looks mischievous.
Yeah, she does. She's got a little twinkle in her eye, just like Santa. This man who was involved in this argument, he said it was for no reason. Oh, really? The man said Hossein allegedly became upset and got out of his car. That is when he realized she left her cell phone inside, so he threw it out the window as he was trying to leave, but Hossein allegedly smashed his right taillight, breaking it. The man said he wants her to pay for damages, about $400 worth. Hossein and the man had a relationship in the past but have not been together for more than a year, according to police. They say that she hit the tail light with a bottle because she was angry that he didn't want to pay her the money he owes her in return for a sexual favor because he was not satisfied with the way she had performed it.
There's never been anything like this.
Well, clearly they need to take this to Judge Judy.
Yes,
this
they
is like
do.
textbook Judge Judy.
Oh, yeah. It was in jail. She's been released on $1,000 bond. Come on. You know, they didn't say you had to do it well. They just said you had to do it. Next one, really lucky. A Florida woman says a snorkel mask saved her from serious injury of an animal attack. Yes, a gator attack. This Florida woman, I got a gator going on. This Florida woman said she considers herself really lucky after a 9-foot-long alligator left her with only scratches after it bit her on the head over the weekend. 20-year-old Melissa Carr was snorkeling at a park swimming hole when the attack happened. She said this gator came out of nowhere. Florida Fish and Wildlife.
Well, no, he came out of the water.
He came out of nowhere for her. Yeah. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission said it received reports about this woman who was bitten by an alligator at Alexander Springs. That's a popular spot for divers about 60 miles north of Orlando.
What do you want to bet there's a sign on the edge of the water that says, like, beware alligators?
Swim at your own risk. Alligators are in here.
Right now it's mating season.
Yeah.
And they're
came
hungry.
out of nowhere. I was just swimming in a lake in Florida.
She says due to the mask that was going over her head, she believes the alligator couldn't get a good grip on her. She said, it sounds bad, but it biting my head is probably the best place it could have been because, like, it would have gotten my arm. That would have gotten a better grip on my arm. I could have lost my arm or just, like, my life in general. So, like, I think the head, he didn't get a good grip of it. So I think that I'm genuinely just, like, really lucky, she said.
Because, like, how are you going to post on Instagram if you're, like, missing an arm? That's just gross. Ew.
It was the second alligator attack or incident at Alexander Springs in less than a week. So clearly,
it's the second in a week. I'm sure they had a notice posted. Come on.
Yeah, there is a statewide nuisance alligator program called SNAP, statewide nuisance alligator program. It is meant to address alligator threats in developed areas while conserving alligators in areas while they naturally occur. So they have tips. If you see an alligator, keep your distance. Keep your pets away from the water's edge and keep them on leash because pets resemble alligators' natural prey. Only swim in designated swimming areas during daylight hours and without your pet. Alligators are most active between dusk and dawn, and never feed an alligator. It is illegal and dangerous. Florida rules that everybody should know.
Yeah.
Just in case. Yeah. Okay. This Florida man faked a Trump presidential pardon and tried a hitman to avoid fraud charges. Yeah, you can't fake a president. I guess you could fake a president.
Did we do this story before?
Wild idea, but it just might work.
I don't think we did. Is it new or is it old?
I thought I remember the story where he faked his own pardon.
Oh, I don't
Unless
remember.
there are two guys in Florida faking pardons.
I'm going to go for it anyway.
Oh, go for it.
Unless you think, I don't know. Because I don't
Maybe
think
it happened
I've seen
earlier.
it before. Maybe. I don't know.
I've seen something like this before.
Oh, well.
Go ahead.
I don't know. So this Florida man who fabricated a presidential pardon apparently is now looking at a 35-year prison sentence after pleading guilty to fraud, murder for hire, and obstruction of justice.
He was finally sentenced. That's what.
Oh, is that what the? Okay, yeah. This is a 25-year-old Tampa area resident, Alexandra Lesenzinski. He was charged with deed fraud and money laundering. While in prison, the FBI learned through a confidential informant that he was asking about a hitman to kill two of his fraud victims because of his pending criminal case that it would have to be dropped if the victims were dead.
Wow.
Not the first time he had explored extreme measures in an attempt to clear his name. When officials froze his account after finding evidence of fraud, he tried to have it released by making fake presidential pardons signed by former President Trump. So he's pleading guilty to both cases and has since tried sending several letters asking others to come forward and claim guilt in his cases in exchange for money. No, Florida judge sentenced him to 17 years and 6 months for murder and obstruction of justice, which is to be served consecutively to the 17 years and 6 months for the fraud counts as well. He'll be in jail for a while. There you go, Lazinski. That's what that gets you. A Florida man fakes an overdose to delay his January 6th sentencing.
Oh, that's a good cover.
It's a wild idea.
I like the creativity here.
Might work. You never know.
More. Tell me more.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
a wild idea, but it just might work.
Christopher Worrell faking an overdose to avoid sentencing. A Proud Boys member who admitted to faking this overdose will likely receive a lengthier sentence as a result. Thank you. Christopher Worrell of Florida reportedly went missing days before he was supposed to arrive in court in August regarding 7 felony charges, including obstruction of an official proceeding of Congress, a civil disorder, assaulting officers, and using a dangerous weapon, all related to the January 6th Capitol riots. He was found several weeks later in September by the FBI. The Bureau entered his home to find him in possession of an opioid prescription bottle, and he appeared to be overdosing. He was transported to the hospital, but it was all a ruse. Worrell then faked a drug overdose prior to his arrest and maintained that lie during a 5-day hospital stay, wasting the time and money of both medical staff and the Collier County Sheriff's Office, which provided deputies to watch Worrell 24/7 in a non-secure hospital location, which was apparently left to foot the bill for Worrell's unnecessary medical care. The DOJ is stating all this in court. After searching through Worrell's communications, investigators found he seemingly admitted to a friend that his overdose was fake. He said it was a stupid delay tactic to avoid sentencing. Proud Boys' alleged lies will likely cause U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth, who convicted Worrell of the 7 felonies, to lose his patience. Lamberth previously portrayed sympathy to the man's ongoing health issues, that he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but the judge allowed Worrell to remain on pretrial release and pursue medical treatment before sentencing. And now the DOJ is seeking a low-end sentence of 168 months because of the medical conditions. But after he disappeared in August, the government ran out of sympathy, and now they want 20 years. That's the maximum they're asking.
Do we know which one of these charming
Did you really just do that?
We don't know which one on the right.
On the one, okay,
on the
that's
right?
funny because I love they're flashing like the white power sign,
right?
And he has melanin in his skin. It's like, what? Come on, dude. Like, really? Okay.
Yeah. Winner, winner, fake an overdose and get more jail time.
Oh, man.
Florida police, rather, seized 309 animals from a mobile home before arresting a very overwhelmed woman. Let's say that again. 309 animals in a mobile home. Yeah. I don't know how this is
par
possible.
for the course. Which trailer park is this?
This is a Frost-Proof Florida mobile home. The name of the mobile home park is not given, but we know she's been arrested for animal cruelty and
it's Frost-Proof?
Frost-Proof Florida. That's the name of the town. Yeah.
Is that a problem in Florida?
Not in this Frost-Proof community.
Hey,
apparently not.
We went to the extra length of frost-proofing our city.
She's been arrested for animal cruelty and animal neglect charges after 164 birds, 142 cats.
Oh, that's almost like a 1-to-1 ratio.
Only 3 dogs were seized from her property by police, who added the ammonia levels inside the home were lethal.
Yeah.
The Polk County Sheriff's Office saying in a press release, a deputy was dispatched to the home December 21st to conduct a welfare check on this 75-year-old woman reportedly living in a possible hoarder situation with cats in the house.
Look at that photo. Possible?
Oh, look at that.
Possible.
Wow. Look at all those cages. I mean, isn't a mobile home small enough already? Well,
is that a mobile home? That it doesn't look like a mobile home.
That's the inside of the place.
There's like boards.
It's not a
It doesn't look
classy
like a
mobile
trailer.
home.
Doesn't look like a trailer, but
When the officers arrived, they met 48-year-old Lisa Latcherite in the front yard of the home, where the deputy told her he was there to conduct a welfare check on the older woman who turned out to be Latcherite's mother. Latcherite allegedly told the officer that she was her mother's caregiver, adding that she had health issues. Latcherite asking the officer to please wait outside while she went in to get her mom. As the deputy waited, he reportedly noted a strong ammonia smell outside. So when Latcherite returned 15 minutes later, she told the deputy he can go in and check on her mom. The deputy first entered an enclosed porch where he saw several wire cages with about 75 chickens, peacocks, and ducks, some of which appeared to be malnourished and sick. When the deputy went inside the home, the smell of ammonia became overwhelming. He reported seeing 50 cats running around the house, climbing on furniture, sitting on kitchen counters. Latcherite told the deputy she rescues the cats and cares for the chickens and birds. So additional deputies, more emergency crews respond to the scene. They collect air samples to evaluate for ammonia, which allegedly measured between 70 and 100 parts per million. The personnel advised anything over 50 parts per million is hazardous, possibly lethal to human health as well as animals.
Ironically, these birds are being treated better than factory farms.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, they have room. In the factory farms, they're all sitting in their poop and they don't have their own little cage.
Well, it was a dangerous situation. The mom was removed from the home to prevent being exposed to the conditions any longer. Latcherite, the daughter, arrested on 5 counts of animal cruelty, 304 counts of animal neglect, 1 count of neglecting an elder, and was taken off to the Polk County Jail. She admitted to the deputies she knew the conditions of the residents were not good for humans or for the animals, adding that she was overwhelmed by the number of animals at the home and it just became too much to manage. All of those animals are expected to be evaluated by veterinarians and then will be found new homes. So,
well, you know who those deputies work for?
Mm-mm.
Sheriff Grady Judd.
Is he Polk County?
That's
all right. Yeah.
It's my jurisdiction.
And here's the last one. This Florida man spotted making dirt angels, arrested after leaving the site of a crash scene. Dirt angels.
Is that code?
No. They're real dirt angels. Yeah.
Like in his underwear? Like, what are we talking?
He was out at a construction site.
Like a snow angel.
Like a snow angel, but in the dirt. Yeah. Yeah. This suspect seen making dirt angels in a Hillsborough County construction site. While deputies searched for him, was arrested for leaving the scene of a crash. I'm willing to bet there's alcohol involved. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office said the crash involved one vehicle, happened on East Bears Avenue in Tampa just after 7 p.m. Deputies said the driver, 34-year-old Eliezer Armando Rios, took off running when deputies arrived at the crash scene and ended up climbing a fence into a large construction site. While running from the Hillsborough County deputies, Rios laid down in a pit of soil and started making what officials called dirt angels.
He is glowing like an angel. Very angelic in that white glow.
I think that's the infrared camera. Look at him. There he is, making his dirt angels.
He's an angel. Again, I like to point out the resources that Florida will use in situations like this. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, you call 911, you get put on hold.
Yeah. Well, he was also seen making calls on his phone in between making dirt angels. Once he started running again, he climbed the fence. 3 deputies and a canine were there to apprehend the suspect. He was arrested on several charges, including leaving the scene of a crash and trespassing at a construction site. There he goes. He's running. He's running.
That's
Imagine
crazy.
Making another dirt angel. Nope, he's still running. Yeah. And then he goes over the fence and they get him. So he'll be in jail for a while.
Imagine if Florida spent all this money on education instead of helicopter technology.
Would that be nearly as entertaining, though?
Probably not.
No, I don't think so. All right, let's run through the stories again and see which one is our favorite. Looks like that canine took him down. Okay, the first one, Florida man accused of walking into an unlocked apartment and stealing vodka and orange juice.
Right, strawberry lemonade Sedka.
Florida woman smashes man's taillight after he refuses to pay her for sexual favors.
Mm-hmm.
Really lucky. Florida woman says snorkel mask saved her from serious injury in a gator attack.
Like, totally.
Like for real. Florida man faked a Trump presidential pardon and then tried to hire a hitman to avoid fraud charges. Florida man fakes the overdose to delay his January 6th sentencing. Florida police seized 309 animals from a mobile home before arresting an overwhelmed woman. And Florida man spotted making dirt angels, arrested after leaving a Hillsborough crash scene. And your favorite, John Daly.
I kind of, I like originality. I like the fake overdose. I feel like that was like in the Florida playbook and nobody had tried it before. And he's like, you know what? I'm going for it. I'm going to fake an overdose. So for originality, I'm going with the fake overdose.
Pretty good. I like it. Albert, your favorite?
I like the Dirt Angel. It's just the footage is too good. It really
it really is
the story. And I like how he just thinks laying down like in a dirt, like in the dark, thinks he could get people off him. And little did he know they had the infrared on him.
Well, I like how he's just so unconcerned. I mean, you think if you're running from police, you don't really have time to rest on your laurels or, have some joy with making the dirt angels. But no, he takes a moment.
You gotta stop, sniff
smell
the flowers.
roses, appreciate the finer things in life. Yeah. That's probably the last great moments he'll have.
It takes a lot of energy to be a Florida man.
I guess it does. Sometimes you need a break.
Yeah.
Albert, what's it look like on the poll today? Did we do a poll?
Yeah, so the Dirt Angel's actually in the lead, 45% of the vote, so almost half.
Yeah, all right. Let's see what they have to say in the chat. I believe I can fly, says Michael Reich. Yeah, Dirt Angel. Lori says, hard to choose between the fake pardon and the taillight smash. Got to go with Dirt Angel, says Flo. It's the holiday season. Agree. Walter's Gator. Jim goes with the fake pardon. Sounds so Florida, kind of like the fake electors. Dirt Angel, says Ren, is definitely the best video. Yeah. Anonymous, it's an awesome infrared. Yeah. Okay, I have to say my favorite's going to be the Dirt Angel. I just love the video from that, as you say, Albert. I think we have to go. And as Flo says, it is a holiday season. So I'll hit Dirt Angel, which is a surprise because usually I'll pick the Gator. Like, that was awful. Like, oh my God.
Like, totally.
Right. But I got to go Dirt Angel. Yeah. John Daly, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Don't forget to end the segment.
Oh, I will. I was going to say goodbye to you.
Usually say goodbye after.
Okay, that's Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
You're producing me.
Well, now I know you're new to this. You're new to the show.
I'm new to the show. Thank you, Albert. We appreciate that, says Francine P. Absolutely. Look at that. Vilma's saying the Dirt Angels were heavenly. Yes, they were. Happy New Year's to former fabulous producer John Daly, who I would argue is still fabulous. I will see you on the after party, sir.
Yeah, at 105 Pacific. Come join us. The after party got live.
Yeah. See you then. Thanks for being here. Bye. Thanks, John Daly. Yeah, thanks for that. Great. That was a really good one. That was fun. John Slade agrees. That was a really good one. Absolutely. All right, a little bit more news, and then we get Michael Shure to talk politics. I can't wait to hear what he has to say about the Colorado and the Maine ballot situation. So we'll get to that next. And then we have Michael Snyder, who's bringing his rainbow and sliding right in. He'll talk today about sports. He's got some TV show recommendations for us, and then, of course, movies as well. He might also recap his best movies of 2023. So Michael Snyder coming up, Michael Shure coming up. It's the Michaels straight ahead on the Mark Thompson Show. But first, some news.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Maine, as we mentioned, is the second state to remove former President Trump from the 2024 Republican primary ballot. Democratic Secretary of State Shenna Bellows issuing this ruling Thursday, citing Trump's alleged role in the January 6th Capitol riot. Trump is expected to appeal Maine's decision along with a similar ruling in Colorado, all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Many Palestinians are fleeing central Gaza as Israeli tanks and warplanes pound Hamas targets in and around several crowded refugee camps. Tens of thousands of already displaced residents are reportedly now streaming in to the southernmost town of Rafah. Ukrainian officials say at least a dozen people are dead after Russia launched a wave of missile attacks and drone strikes on Kyiv and other parts of the country. Officials in Kyiv say 10 people were trapped beneath the rubble after a warehouse was hit in today's attack. President Vladimir Zelensky saying about 110 missiles were fired in these attacks, but most of them were shot down. The White House is threatening to sue the state of Texas if a controversial immigration law goes into effect. The state law allows local authorities to arrest anybody who they believe entered the U.S. illegally. The Justice Department is calling that law unconstitutional because usually that's federal jurisdiction, not state's jurisdiction. So interesting that that's what they'd like to do. Large waves continuing to pound the Southern California coast, northern too, forecasting to do so through the weekend. A high surf warning is in effect for waves ranging from 8 to 13 feet high and sets up to 20 feet. This for Southern California. Lifeguards are warning of dangerous conditions for swimmers and inexperienced surfers as well. The risk of flooding in low-lying coastal areas remains high through at least Saturday. Former Congresswoman Katie Hill settling her revenge porn case against her ex-husband. The Antelope Valley Democrat sued over intimate nude photos that were distributed and published without her permission. Hill sued her former husband, Kenneth Heslop, and several news groups for punitive damages. Earlier this year, the media companies were dismissed from the case on free speech grounds. Hill was assessed thousands of dollars in attorney's fees. She subsequently filed for bankruptcy. The terms of the settlement have not yet been released. Speaking of naked nudity, a prostitution sting operation has led to the arrest of a half dozen Johns. Undercover LAPD officers posing as sex workers arrested the 6 men in South Los Angeles. That sting conducted along the Figueroa corridor, where reports of prostitution are pretty commonplace in that area. Some lighter news now. How about let's talk about well, that's not really lighter news. Well, we'll talk about Donald Glover's album. Donald Glover says new music from his alter ego, Childish Gambino, is in the works. TMZ posting a run-in with the actor-rapper in New York City. As he hopped into a van, he shared he's focused on his Amazon series, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, as well as this new album, but didn't provide any details about the project, which would be his first in more than 3 years. But he does say that it is coming soon. Okay, I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore with 28 varietals, 14 reds, 14 whites. My favorite, the Mark Thompson Why Are You Yelling Red, and an absolutely beautiful landscape, picturesque place to go out and taste the wine. They're so friendly at Tenuta Vineyards. Check them out. Their wine is great. They're really great people. Their motto is, you give them 30 minutes and you will be friends for life. Also, if you're looking to host a gathering, maybe a conference, a workplace party, they have great facilities there to do just that. Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore, you have to call them to get your 10% discount from the Mark Thompson Show, and you have to say smash it with your iron rod and you'll get your 10%
Smash
off.
it with your iron rod.
So call Rich at 925-699-4576, and our thanks to Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Again, I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, I look forward to this all week long. Let me welcome in Michael Shure to the broadcast. Yay, Michael Shure. Woo-hoo.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Hi.
How are you?
Well, good. How are you?
I'm well. Merry.
Happy almost New Year.
Yeah, exactly. How about that?
I'm a little scared, I have to say. I mean, at least with 2023, everything was set. We have Biden in office. We knew what we were getting. And this whole political climate moving into 2024, I'm nervous for what it's going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, election years are always tense for anyone on either side who doesn't like or who loves what's there. So it's normal. I wouldn't make too much hay over it. What's not normal is the way it's playing out. And, you know, in a lifetime, we only have the elections we remember to use as reference points. And this one will likely be one that is unlike any of the ones that we can remember.
So I don't know if I've talked to you about Colorado with the state Supreme Court saying no Trump on the ballot, and now the GOP Republican Party in Colorado appealing that. And now we have Maine, who the Secretary of State has said no Trump on the ballot, but I'm staying my decision, she said, until the courts can decide. And so Trump obviously will be appealing that one as well. That they have said, the Trump campaign has said that.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that this provides some relief for getting him off of the ballot everywhere. But California says they're not going to do this until some type of court case resolves the matter. So I guess the question is, and we've never seen anything like this, so, you know, I don't know if there's even an answer. Who gets to decide whether a presidential candidate appears on the ballot or not? And maybe this is the time where we answer that question.
Well, I mean, there are many ways that those decisions are made. Some by the state party, and you know, some by the Constitution. I think that there are constitutional challenges that happen regularly that are not as high profile in terms of getting people on the ballot. There's the natural born citizen issue. There is the issue of age that some people even dispute the vagaries in the Constitution on that. But this one is going to have to go to the courts. And the reason being that the Supreme Court is the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution. And the 14th Amendment is what is holding up here in Maine, at least, and in Colorado, if not in Michigan, if not in Minnesota, if not in Colorado, in California. I shouldn't even say not in California because it hasn't been challenged officially there. And Trump's name will be on the ballot there. Newsom, the governor there, Gavin Newsom, saying that he, in California, we defeat our candidates at the polls, not in the courts. But if there's a court ruling, and if there's something that says from the Supreme Court that he is not entitled to be on the ballot because of what he had done in violation of the 14th Amendment, again, seriously unlikely that we would see that happen. I think that he will end up being on a lot of these ballots. Also, it would help the cause of the people who don't like this to see it happen in what we look at as a red state, right? I mean, we're looking at Maine, which is a blue state, even though Minnesota and Michigan, both blue states, went the other way. Colorado, now a blue state, is not. And so if you saw this come from a Republican state, that might help that case at the Supreme Court. But again, I think ultimately when these state Supreme Courts act, that it's going to go eventually to the federal court.
So you say it's unlikely that the Supreme Court would rule against Donald Trump in this? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I do. I think that they would probably, I mean, the best ruling, if you don't want to see Donald Trump on your ballot, the best ruling would be one that isn't a ruling that says we're going to send this back to the state courts, and then it just kind of muddies the water because he'll be on in some states and not on in other states, and then there'll be a whole move. If he is crushing the rest of the way, those delegates won't matter at a convention. But if they do, and not being on those ballots ends up mattering, then these courts and these state courts will prevail. I just, when I say I don't think that the court, I think if the court hears it, which I think they will do, and again, I'm not a Supreme Court guy. You know, I've covered it, I've been there for rulings, but I don't know the nuts and bolts of it. But if they look at this and they decide to take the case, then I think they will probably rule, and almost certainly rule, in favor of the Trump appeal.
See, that's so interesting because I've talked to other people who say it's so black and white. It's like the other rules you mentioned. It's like you have to be 35, you have to be a citizen. It's so cut and dried that even if you are somebody that looks at the Constitution and you're not looking for nuances, you're just here's exactly what it says and here's what I'm going to a strict constitutionalist, they say, right? Even if you are either way, like it's just cut and dried. There's no way you could not find that the 14th Amendment applies here.
Well, there's right, but that presumes that you believe that Donald Trump incited an insurrection, right? And that has not been decided in the courts yet. I mean, that is in the court of public opinion, in the court of Congress, in the court of the divided nation, yes, but not officially in the courts. And the Supreme Court rules on precedent. And if there isn't precedent, then it becomes very difficult to say, well, this is clearly a violation. But if you're looking at a man convicted of inciting insurrection, and then you're putting it in the framework of the 14th Amendment, yeah, then you're having a different kind of conversation. It becomes more black and white. But what's so nebulous here is the fact that he has not yet been convicted of anything.
Well, speaking of convictions, Nikki Haley is coming out. And I mean, I didn't expect anything different from her, but she says that she will pardon Trump as president. So if she is elected, she said yesterday that she would pardon former President Trump because she said it would be in the best interest of the country.
Her campaign. Oh, what?
There would be I mean, what?
Yeah.
I just, the mere thought that he could skate again without any consequences, with such upheaval in America, with trying to steal the vote in a million different ways, with what I consider to be inciting an insurrection, and she's going to pardon him, and she thinks that's in the best interest of the country.
Well, there is precedent for that. Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon, and it was, in retrospect, I think more people now think it may have been in the best interest of the country, even if distasteful. I'm not going to be the arbiter of that, but so while you may not agree with Nikki Haley, it's kind of smart politics, because she is going to need, if she is to prevail or if Trump is not to get on the ballot, she's going to need Trump supporters in her camp. There's no way a Republican, if Donald Trump is not standing or is losing, there's no way a Republican can win without the support of the people that he brings out to the polls. So I understand why a Republican would say that now, and also be able to look at it very differently were they to be elected. But I think that, in a week where you could say she did something really, really stupid politically, although I'm not even sure if that's true, that she did something that was probably sound for her campaign. But if not for, if people disagree, that it's good for the country.
So let's talk about that moment of stupidity, which I think you were right the first time. She is asked, and I don't know exactly why she's asked this question, unless somebody wanted to kind of gotcha her. They said, what was the cause of the Civil War? And she refuses to say that slavery, the word slavery, and I don't know how you talk about the Civil War and don't use the word slavery was the cause, but she pulled it off, or not quite, because she's faced a lot of backlash. And now I'm reading this report on Politico that even Republicans are saying, no, she should have communicated better in that moment. She chose to use a tired old political stump tactic by tossing the question back to the guy who asked it. So people aren't happy with the way she was, caught not thinking on her feet quickly with that whole situation.
Right. Well, let's be real about this, right? Republicans of color, and there are not very many of them, are upset about it. A. B, if it was a plant, as a lot of people say it was, or a gotcha question, it would have been a plant by the Haley campaign. It's such a softball that I would want somebody to ask me that question so I had the opportunity to answer it correctly. So it's not a gotcha question. It's a gift. And she really dropped and broke the gift if it was in fact a plant. The other side of it is, she's running in a Republican primary. This will hurt her. Democrats should hope that she is the nominee, because this will hurt her terribly should she be the nominee. I don't know how much it hurts her in a Republican primary season in 2023, 2024. I mean, it just, to me, the tone of that party right now, as dictated by Trump, says that this is not such a big faux pas for a candidate to make, as distasteful as that is, and how I wish I didn't believe it. I do think that there is, it's a big fire that's not going to really spread unless she's the nominee. I may be wrong, and it may be a reason that she just gets so much criticism that she becomes yesterday's flavor in this campaign.
Well, she was asked a question yesterday And let's see if we have video of this one, Albert. This is, and I don't know how it's to redeem yourself, but the person says, I'll let you redeem yourself after yesterday's faux pas. And I want to ask you if you would ever consider becoming Trump's vice president. And what's interesting to me is she doesn't actually say no, right? She kind of skirts around it. You never run for second, blah, 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 the typical answer. But she doesn't say, I would not serve under Trump. Let's watch the video.
Is it a chance to redeem yourself after last night's slavery thing? Would you be able to say categorically that you will not accept being Trump's vice president?
I could say to you what you want to hear, and you could go check that box and go do whatever. But I'm going to continue to tell you my truth, and the truth that I have always told the truth, even when I was in the administration. President Trump and I worked well together. Why? Because I told him the truth. Now, if you want to talk about vice president, I will tell you this now. I've said it before. I don't play for second. I've never played for second. I'm not going to start now.
But she didn't say no. She didn't say no, and she said she worked well with Trump. What does that mean? Is this another case of her trying to appeal to that Trump base?
Of course, it's smart. Don't go out. You see the people that are making anti-Trump within this primary that she's in right now. And I'm not talking about the primary that would happen if Trump wasn't there, because other people would certainly run. Within this primary, there are people who are bashing Trump regularly. When you look at Chris Christie, there are people that are trying to embrace Trump but still criticize him. I look at DeSantis there, and there are people who embrace him completely, like Ramaswamy. She is trying to play all sides here, which is not, it might be disingenuous, but it's also not stupid politics. And I think that it's important that she not distance herself completely for Donald Trump, because that acreage is already taken up, and it's not a big plot of land in the Republican Party.
And meanwhile, she keeps rising in the polls. Do you think that what's happened to her this week kind of stalls her progress there?
I would imagine so. Yeah. I mean, I talked before about how it doesn't really matter in a Republican primary. I don't think the words matter as much as the perception of a flawed candidate matters. And so I think it's almost certainly will hurt her. I don't know that there's been a poll taken since this has happened. Her rise in the polls was in New Hampshire. And New Hampshire has a bit of an independent streak, always has. They don't always nominate or vote for and support in their primary the person who goes on to be president, nor does Iowa. But I just think that this is the type of place where a Republican who is in Donald Trump could do well. So it's not surprising to see one of them within striking range, actually within the margin of error in New Hampshire. I think the polls are going to be a little different after this week for her.
Let's move on to President Biden. I was reading a story about his whole Bidenomics thing falling flat. And the reason why people are not really buying it, and it might be because we're still seeing high prices at stores. He's trying to sell that his role in the post-pandemic economic recovery has been a good thing, but Americans apparently are not really going with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is messaging, right? I mean, Democrats get criticized. This administration particularly gets criticized for their issues with messaging. I think you look at Obamacare, that was well messaged. You look at Reaganomics, that was well messaged. I think Bidenomics was hard to convince people of coming out of the pandemic when there was so much uncertainty. Are we going back to work? Are we going to an office? Why is gas so expensive? When is the supply chain going to correct itself? And when it does, why are the prices still so high? These are the types of things that hit people at home. If a loaf of bread went down with the same sort of velocity as the price of gas does when it goes down, then I think people would be looking at it in a different way. But that's not the way it works. And also people are saying, look, if you own a restaurant, and yesterday people were spending $60 on a steak that you wish you could sell for $50, but hey, people are selling it or buying it for $60. Well, I'm going to keep selling it for $60.
Right.
So a lot of the things that are tangible downturns in prices, which is what economics is about to the consumer and to the man and woman on the street, then yeah, it's very difficult to have that happen. But messaging is going to change. I've talked about a lot in this space that the Democrats are going to spend a lot of money. They're sitting on over $1 billion. They're going to spend a lot of money telling you why Bidenomics has helped, and that will make a difference.
Well, they need to, because the poll numbers for President Biden are not looking pretty good. His approval rating has fallen to a record low of 34%. This, according to a Monmouth University poll released last week. Nearly 70% of people who answered this poll disapproved of his handling of inflation. More than half of respondents disapproved of Biden's records on jobs, even though he's presiding over a historically strong labor market. And that kind of goes to what you're saying about messaging and getting the word out that actually what you think is happening is the opposite.
Right. Yeah, I think, you can't pick and choose which polls you want to listen to.
Right.
So, and Monmouth is a good polling place, but you can look at the dynamics and know that those are going to change. And the dynamics right now are that you have a number of Democrats who are taking polls who don't want Joe Biden to be their nominee, who like Joe Biden, thinks he's done a good enough job, but would love to see him replaced on the ticket, not because they dislike him or don't think he's done well, but because they think that he's too old. And so there's a little bit of, I think, polling self-sabotage that's going on. You have Republicans who are not going to like what the president's doing anyway. And then there is feeble support. I mean, this is not when you look at 34%, I bet that many of the 34% who are giving him favorable reviews are giving it with I think he's done a good job, but right. I mean, so there is not this sort of gush that's happening. I think that will change when he is the nominee. It might not get him to 58%, but I think it will certainly improve his numbers, because then everybody or everyone who will get on board will be on board, and you're going to see, I think, a more vocal support for what he's done, and combined with a refutation of what the other side is doing.
Speaking of Biden, another article from Politico that I was reading last night was talking about a shift in policy in Ukraine. And apparently, by the Biden administration and European officials are quietly shifting their focus now from supporting Ukraine's goal of total victory over Russia to now improving its position in an eventual negotiation to end the war. So I don't know what this means. Does that mean that Ukraine could give up some territory, or that Russia could actually come out on top in this one?
I don't see it as Russia coming out on top. I think the most important thing, and I think the tease for this kind of a posture from these nations and from the United States, I mean, there are a couple of them. One is the money, the push for that money in not just in the United States, but most certainly the biggest numbers from the United States, but in other Western European countries, the passion has gone away for the blind support when the end game isn't as clear. The other part of it was NATO saying that they're now having conversations about bringing, they've taken up the issue of Ukraine becoming a member state. And I think at that point, then you have to have Ukraine listen to you a little bit rather than you listening to Ukraine. And so I don't know what the horse trading is going to be like for land. I know that this has been not good for Russia, not good for Putin. I feel like Putin, from what I've been reading and from, I read the counteroffensive coming, it's Tim Mack's piece on his writing, former NPR guy coming out of Ukraine. There seems to be this idea that this thing has to end, that it doesn't have this sort of lifelong conflict feel that others have. We look at Israel and the Palestinians, for example, which seems like that's been our whole lives, and it's never going to be resolved completely. This seems like there's a resolution. I think it was spurred on by NATO, and I think it was spurred on by a reluctant Congress in the United States in terms of giving more aid to Ukraine.
Let's move to domestic politics when we'll go to New York City, where the New York mayor is now putting these new rules in place, trying to affect what Texas is doing when it comes to busing in migrants. So Mayor Eric Adams issuing an executive order on Wednesday to restrict the flow of migrant charter buses sent by Texas Governor Greg Abbott to New York City. He says, no, if you're going to bus migrants here, you can only do it between 8:30 a.m. on and noon on weekdays, and you have to give us 32 hours warning that the buses are going to come. And the Texas mayor's like, or governor's like, yeah, no. Abbott says I don't play by your rules. Can the New York mayor do that, or do the buses just stop and park and people get off no matter what the rules are?
Well, I mean, the New York mayor can't sort of, by just a legal fiat say this is what we're doing.
Right.
But it's, these are all politicians, and Eric Adams is a politician. He's saying, look, we're not saying no, but we're saying we need to figure out how to deal with this in an organized way. So you're playing both sides of the fence. And Greg Abbott says, he doesn't play by anybody's rules. He plays by his own rules, and those rules are being challenged now in the court. So this is a, you talked about it at the top of this segment, Kim. 2024, get used to it.
Well, speaking of Abbott playing by nobody's rules, the Department of Justice is now threatening a lawsuit over this Texas border law, which makes the illegal border crossing a state crime and allows state judges to deport migrants. Well, this is federal jurisdiction, and Texas can't do that, but they just did. So now the Department of Justice is saying, yeah, no, we're going to fight you on this one. This is kind of ballsy. I mean, I guess par for the course with Abbott.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Abbott's doing is ballsier in a way, because it's so extra legal. But I think that this is the proper response from and the expected response. It's what Abbott probably knew was going to happen. Certainly knew what was going to happen when he did this. So the Justice Department stepping in, and I think the issue is going to be, well, there are Democratic governors in other border states, in southern border states like California and in Arizona. So and New Mexico as well. So I think you're going to find that posture is not going to be as successful, but Texas does things in its very own way.
No, they do, but I don't know how you get around that this is federal jurisdiction. You can't. I mean, it's an international border crossing.
Right.
This
You don't. The answer is you don't, but Abbott doesn't listen to that, and Abbott likes the fight, and him winning a fight that's the currency of his power there. And so
I mean, isn't he already fighting the floating border in the Rio Grande that has the barbed wire wrapped around it?
I mean, look at his record, right? I mean, it's a pretty shady record when it comes to immigration, but it's all based on politics. He's the guy that puts people on a bus. He's the guys with those flotillas. He's the guys he's the guy who's trying to defederalize the border. It's just not how America works.
The border probably a big issue in the 2024 election, because President Biden is getting a lot of criticism for the way he's handled things at the border. Do you see anything changing as we run up to the election with what's happening at our border?
I mean, without a sort of a more, I see things changing because I see Democrats in Congress saying that they know things need to change. And when you start hearing the Senate majority talk about that, Senate that may not have the majority, but going into this election year for them, being tough on the border is important. These caravans only happen in even numbered years, right? So it is certainly a political vessel, and it's a wedge issue. It always has been. It's never as bad as it seems at the border as the way people portray it, but it's certainly not. There's certainly problems there, and those problems are magnified in election years. But this is, as we've heard people say, this is an opportunity, and I think our old friend Jim, what was his name, Avila?
Something like that.
He used to say that it's important for Democrats to have a border policy, which they don't. But I think coming out of the recess, they're going to put together something that's going to put a Democratic fingerprint on immigration reform.
Someone in the chat just mentioned the plan for Texas to secede from the United States. Have you read about that wacky story?
The Republic of Texas, yes. So, I've covered it. I've read about it.
I mean, really? As if they're not on their own out in the wilds already. Now they want to secede. I mean, it's as crazy as the Republic of Jefferson in California. I don't see it going anywhere, but it's just really, come on.
No, I don't see it going anywhere. But there's certainly more of it's got a wider reach in Texas than it does in California. So
Michael Shure, thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that you have contributed to and done for the Mark Thompson Show in 2023. And I hope that we get a lot more of you in 2024.
You will have as much of me as I can possibly give. So, it's been a pleasure. Happy New Year to everyone who watches and listens, and to all of you, even to Mark.
Even say to him, yes. Michael Shure, thank you so much. We'll see you next year. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here. Michael Shure, everybody. Love the conversation.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He is absolutely the best. I love him so much. Okay, let us go back to the news before we welcome in Michael Snyder, the culture blaster, to talk TV,
The Mark Thompson Show.
and movies and all that fun stuff. A little bit of news and we're back into it. What do you think, Albert?
It sounds good.
Let's do it. Let's do it. On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Maine's Democratic Secretary of State disqualifying former President Trump from the state's 2024 Republican primary ballot. Shenna Bellows making the decision yesterday, saying Trump encouraged violence during the January 6th Capitol riot. Trump is expected to appeal the decision, which follows a similar ruling earlier this month by the Colorado State Supreme Court. And again, Ohio's governor is rejecting a bill to restrict transgender care for minors. Republican Governor Mike DeWine is one of only 2 GOP governors to veto a restriction on gender-affirming care. The measure also would have kept trans girls from participating on school sports teams. 9 people still hospitalized after being injured by a huge wave in California. Officials in Ventura County say nearly 20 people were swept off a beach yesterday by this huge wave that crashed onto onlookers standing behind a barrier. The National Weather Service says large waves and dangerous rip currents will continue along parts of our California coast through the weekend. So it's one of these moments. Be careful. Rogue waves can get you if you are standing on jetties, standing what you think is far enough away. Think again and step back even further. A cozy New Year's Eve fireplace. Being a little chilly in the Bay Area this year, air quality managers are highly discouraging wood burning of any kind in order to keep the air healthy. The Air District asking people not to burn wood in their fireplaces, their wood stoves, or their outdoor fire pits through the holiday weekend. This is not a full spare the air alert, and it's not illegal to burn, but people are being asked to avoid anything that creates smoke. And they say fireworks are likely illegal in most areas as well, so keep that in mind. Governor Gavin Newsom is highlighting new laws passed in 2022. Governor pointing out efforts to protect reproductive freedom by safeguarding electronic health records related to abortion and other sensitive services. Another law protects providers and people from enforcement action in California of other states' laws since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Governor Newsom is also trumpeting new laws to tackle the opioid crisis and expand the number of sick days available to workers. The list includes taking on big oil, increasing voter access, affordable housing, and the landmark Mental Health Services Act as well. So, other news, Stinson Beach, speaking of the big waves, they're hoping for a drier Friday. Homes around that area had to be evacuated yesterday as a large storm surge triggered localized flooding. There were about a half dozen streets flooded and volunteers filling sandbags trying to keep homes from flooding. The evacuation order was lifted later in the afternoon and no major damage was done. The FBI is keeping a close eye on San Francisco when it comes to threats against the country this coming New Year's Eve. While the organization says there is currently no credible threat to San Francisco, the city has been flagged by the FBI as an attractive target. The city's coastline, one area of concern. San Francisco authorities say they expect New Year's Eve to go on as normal this year and that they are always preparing to deal with all situations, big or small. Folks headed to see the fireworks around the Embarcadero should expect to see additional officers around the area as a precaution. Travelers headed out of Oakland International Airport hoping for a better day today, too. Long lines at the airport yesterday led to missed flights for dozens of passengers on multiple airlines. Yeah, it's a bad one. Airport officials blamed the tough lines both at check-in and through TSA. Yesterday was lining up to be one of the biggest travel days of the year as people head home for New Year's Eve. Airport officials say no flights were canceled, but more than 24 flights were delayed.
There's never been anything like this.
BART continuing its ongoing crackdown on fare evasion. The transit agency yesterday unveiling the new prototype for their fare gates at the West Oakland station. Albert, we talked about this. These gates have door-breaking technology that makes them extremely difficult to push through. The goal is to install about 700 new gates designed to stop fare evaders at stations around the region by 2025. So 2024, 2025, your fare evasion on BART, things are going to look a little different. So
I think you're going to see less crazy stuff happen on BART, like the random homeless guy peeing in the corner, those type of things.
Got to keep the riffraff out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people from all over the world will be flocking to the Times Square this weekend in New York City for the big New Year's Eve celebration. The event, Sunday night, will feature live performances by Flo Rida, Paul Anka, Jelly Roll, and more. Officials announced that tomorrow they'll be testing out the famous ball, which we know is 12 feet in diameter and covered in crystal triangles. Sunday night, Mayor Eric Adams will push the button, sending the ball down a pole to bring the new year in front of cheering revelers. Do you watch that on TV? Is that what you do, or do you go out and have a cocktail? Albert. Okay, well, I don't know, but whatever it is, I'll be watching the ball drop. Lastly, the Powerball jackpot is rolling over again with no grand prize winner on Wednesday night. At already $685 million at the time of the drawing, the jackpot now jumps to $760 million. The cash option on that works out to $383 million. The next drawing coming up on Saturday. That would be a great way to ring in the new year. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Everything is going extremely well.
What he's got going here is a situation.
You people are crazy.
You just don't get it, really. You don't.
I cannot believe it.
It's fantastic.
Thompson, party of four.
What are you doing?
You cannot say you love your country.
Sayonara, sucker. Good day, sir.
Why are you yelling?
Seriously, what the
Bit of breaking news before we get to Michael Snyder. I'm understanding that an Oakland officer has been shot and killed in the line of duty. There is a heavy police presence in this area on the 400 block of Embarcadero in Oakland this morning, right near Interstate 880. There are dozens of law enforcement officials from multiple agencies outside of Highland Hospital where there is a procession set to take place. This officer reportedly shot and killed during an incident during the overnight hours. Oakland police say that they have to pass on the devastating news that one of their colleagues and friends was killed in the line of duty. They'll be holding a news conference a little later this afternoon, but that is what we know thus far, that an Oakland police officer has lost their life in the line of duty. All right, let's lighten things up. We will move on now to movie reviews, little TV reviews, maybe some sports, all things culture. It is Michael Snyder, everybody, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. Welcome in, Michael Snyder.
am happy to be a little beam of light, a little ray of sunshine in an otherwise gloomy circumstance. Kim, great to have Mark back. You've been doing yeoman work. Albert, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to all. That's right. It ain't over yet. Today is the 5th day of the 12 days of Christmas, with 7 more to come until 12th night. And my big question here is, where are my 5 golden rings? I want my 5 golden rings. Where are they?
I have to thank you, Michael Snyder, for really being that ray of sunshine in all of 2023 and coming in, wrapping up the week for us on Fridays with some spirit and some jokes and some fun. You are so appreciated.
Oh, thanks, Kim. And, you know, New Year's Day is going to be here this coming Monday. And may it just be the first of 365 new days in an entire year that moves forward in real time and ends on December 31st, 2024, or we are really screwed, okay? I mean, it better be business as usual, you know?
When you are the partier, you are all over the place in Los Angeles and San Francisco and going to these hip, cool, artsy kind of places. What are you doing on New Year's Eve?
Well, I will probably watch the ball drop. And I'm talking about my adolescent cousin.
What?
No, I'm kidding. It's not him. Anyway, I will probably watch a little New York Times Square fun, you know, and what have you. And then I'm in Los Angeles this weekend, and I'm going to go to the Constellation Club at the Formosa, the legendary Formosa restaurant and bar where Sinatra and the Rat Pack and many other famous people used to socialize back in the day for Chinese food and cocktails. And the Constellation Club is a very groovy event with deep cut soul and R&B and rock music of the discotheque era, you know, late 60s, early 70s. And I think it's going to be real glamorous and a lot of fun. So that's my plan for New Year's Eve. And then New Year's Day, I'm just going to kick back like everybody else. Maybe do one of those Southern breakfast, lunch, and dinner situations where you have black-eyed peas for good luck. I don't even remember what the menu is supposed to represent, but there is a special luck menu people in the South present to one another on New Year's Day, and maybe I'll go for that.
Do you have any resolutions?
No, I don't, because I don't want to put any pressure on myself. The world does enough of that, right?
That's true. That's true. We have enough pressure as it is. All right. Tell me what's going on at the big movies.
Well, you know, we've covered most of the important films over the course of the past few months, the ones that are awards bait and what have you. And there are a few that have fallen through the cracks or come to streaming that I just wanted to quickly let you know about, and they're all pretty mediocre. And then I think, you know, we should probably talk about my favorite films of the year, since this is our last broadcast of 2023. So I'll just kick off this like mini review segment with Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, which is a new film from movie maker Zack Snyder. No relation. I have no relation to this guy. He has made some films I really like Watchmen and 300. And he's made some that I've been like on the fence about, like Man of Steel, as he moved into being the major creative force behind DC Comics movies over the past decade or so. And he also made the initial cut and then had to put on his editor's cap and do a revised director's cut of Justice League, which was taken from him because of personal circumstances he was facing by movie maker and TV creator Joss Whedon. And he's very much a dividing force in fandom. Some people love his work, others don't. And Rebel Moon Part 1 shows why, you know, I shrug at a lot of his movies. It is a sci-fi thing that folds in a lot of familiar tropes and reflects years and years of bigger, more important films. For instance, this movie calls to mind Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, which influenced a very famous science fiction franchise, and that's George Lucas's Star Wars. And there are elements of the first Star Wars film, Chapter 4, New Hope, in Rebel Moon. And essentially, a young woman who is trying to get away from things on a farming community on some small asteroid or mini planet, finds herself brought into a revolutionary situation when the villainous fascist regime comes down and tries to basically abuse these farmers and take all of their crops, basically leaving them destitute. And so this radicalizes this young woman, and she teams up with a bunch of different various and sundry comrades, and they try to bring down this fascist interstellar government. You do get some actors I like, such as Sophia Boutella as the main character, the reluctant freedom fighter Cora, Jimon Hunsu as a rebel general, and you get Ed Skrein. Yeah, he's wonderful. Ed Skrein as a villainous officer working for this, fascist, galaxy-wide. I don't know how big their reach is, but it's a government, and they're not very pleasant. Michael Huseman, Duna Bai, Ray Fisher, Charlie Hunnam, and Jenna Malone, and you even get Anthony Hopkins voicing a friendly robot. So there is talent here, but it's so derivative, and it kind of plods along too. And this is only part one. This guy's pretty long-winded. His Justice League cut, I think, ended up being pushing 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got what is meant to be an epic science fiction and fantasy, like a big franchise tentpole of sorts. And I kept going, get to the point, which is what I should say about this review. This is a mediocre film. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. The guy's got talent. There's visual flair for days here, but that's insufficient to make this fun and exciting so far. There will be a part 2 this coming year. And again, this is available via Netflix. So you could just watch it at home and make up your own mind if you want.
Tom is dinging you for derivative, so we'll take it.
Well, yeah, sure. Whatever you say, Tom. Moving on, I get a big kick out of Please Don't Destroy, the 3-man comedy troupe of writers on Saturday Night Live who, for the past season and a little more, have been doing these sort of pre-recorded skits that last between 3 and 5 minutes on the show. And, they're kind of sly, self-deprecating, vignettes that show that these 3 nerdy, goofy, clumsy millennials don't know what they're doing and are butting heads, but are pretty funny in the process. And they usually incorporate whoever the guest host is. I enjoy these guys. And in fact, they're 3 legacy comedy writer performers. Their dads are all SNL veterans. I believe I know one of them in particular. I guess his name is John Higgins. I think his father is like one of the producers and the sidekick on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Martin Herlihy is one of the 3, and Ben Marshall. And they're just, they're entertaining in small bursts. But this is a feature-length film called Please Don't Destroy, the name of the troupe, The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. And there are a few laughs to be had here. But what rocks over the course of 5 minutes on an episode of SNL is pretty exhausting over the course of 90 minutes, even with Conan O'Brien playing the abusive father of one of the guys, the red-haired one, of course, and Bowen Yang of SNL as a conniving cult leader whose followers live on the titular mountain, Foggy Mountain, and of course, as the 3 guys pursue the treasure that they think will make them all millionaires multiple times over, they encounter this cult. I gave it every break, and it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't the sort of thing where I went, oh, we'd love another movie from Please Don't Destroy. Please don't destroy your short vignettes on SNL, guys, but you may want to rethink doing a feato film. I wasn't... This one is on Peacock, so it's streaming and available. And I want to also point out the narrator of the movie is John Goodman. So again, there is talent here, but it wasn't funny enough. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. That's too bad.
I know. And I know this is a little late, but I did want to talk briefly about Candy Cane Lane, which is Eddie Murphy's holiday comedy, which came out very recently.
I tried to watch that.
Yeah. It's on Amazon. Essentially, it's about a guy who lives on what people come to call Candy Cane Lane. It's a couple of blocks in Los Angeles, or the Los Angeles area, where people go all out for the holidays to make the most lavish and dazzling of Christmas displays. And it's very competitive on the part of everyone. And in fact, a friend of mine lives in a house on an actual LA area, Candy Cane Lane, which is so jammed up with cars during the holidays. This is no joke, that it can take an hour to drive one block. And that fact in itself is more exciting than this movie. And I have to also point out that there's talent here. Tracy Ellis Ross, so good in American Fiction, plays the Eddie Murphy character's wife. You've got a few other talented people. You have like Jillian Bell playing a kind of rogue elf who brings trouble down on Eddie Murphy's character and his family when he tries to go all out to win the big prize, being offered to the most lavish decorations on Candy Cane Lane in the year that this movie is supposed to take place. It just wasn't funny enough.
It wasn't the acting, it was the story.
Yeah, they were just mediocre. Toothless, if you will. And Ron Howard produced it. Reginald Hudlin, a really good director, was the guy in charge of helming this movie. The script by Kelly Younger, I don't want to single Kelly Younger out, but the script was pretty feeble, and the jokes were not all that funny. And yet, Eddie Murphy, charismatic to the max.
Yeah, he is. I mean, and part of it's nice to see him again, and back on the screen and the lead, but I was disappointed in that movie.
Yeah, I want to make one more quick note about movies I haven't discussed yet that came out this year that I think are worthwhile. And the movie I wanted to talk very briefly about is called Past Lives, and it didn't make my top 10 for the year, but it is one of the best films I've seen this year, and it is it's ambitious in terms of the emotional content. It's a small film. It's about a young woman from South Korea, who basically grows up in New York and is separated from a childhood friend, and they reunite in New York many, many years later and think about their relationship, talk about the relationship and their sort of puppy love. And it's a beautiful, very well acted film, which is written and directed by Celine Song and stars a somewhat familiar face as the young woman in the central role here, Greta Lee. If you saw Russian Doll, she was the main character's best friend, and she was very engaging there. And generally speaking, I try to get these smaller movies or less publicized films in front of the Mark Thompson Show audience, and this is something I just missed. It fell through the cracks, which happens on occasion. Past Lives is a beautiful, beautiful movie, and I highly recommend it. If you have an opportunity to see it, I believe it's available VOD right now, and it's just very moving, witty, and touching. I really loved it.
Is it subtitles or is it in English?
When they speak Korean, yes, it's subtitled, but much of it is in English. And again, it's absolutely worth it. Speaking of great movies, should we talk a little bit about my favorite films of 2023? Do we have the time?
I have my pencil and I'm ready to write down the Michael Snyder list. Go ahead.
All right. We're going to go alphabetical because that's the easiest way to do it. These are movies. I couldn't possibly see every release over the past 12 months, but the ones I caught these were the ones that were the standouts. American Fiction, very impressive debut feature from director and screenwriter Cord Jefferson. American Fiction, it's crackling satire in the context of an interpersonal dramedy, spiky and funny and savvy. A look at the inescapable impact of racial stereotyping, social status, and public perception in the digital world. And Jeffrey Wright is absolutely superb as Monk, an intellectually evolved but self-important Black scholar and author from a well-to-do but dysfunctional family that still plagues him. And his career takes this bizarre turn when he cranks out a fake ghetto memoir as a joke, and it becomes a sensation. Loved American Fiction. Dream Scenario is the darkly comic and thoughtful showcase for Nicolas Cage's talents. It's his latest impactful movie, and it offers one of his absolutely finest performances. He's a hapless college professor whose career and marriage are in a rut, and suddenly millions of people are seeing him in their dreams, turning him into a celebrity. And as this phenomenon of I don't know, benign nocturnal appearances goes viral, he tries to profit off it, but things change as quickly as they started. Christopher Borg, who wrote the bracing script and directed it with flair, has given Cage what I believe is truly a dream role in a movie. Very smart, with less than flattering things to say about modern culture and society. The Holdovers is number 3 on the list. And again, these are in alphabetical order. I don't say that one is better than the other. They're all pretty terrific. The Holdovers is about 3 people thrown together during Christmas break at a New England prep school in 1970. They are a very mean-spirited teacher played by Paul Giamatti, an emotionally damaged student played by newcomer Dominic Sessa. He can't go home for the holidays. And the facility's head cook, played by Divine Joy Randolph, and she deserves every accolade coming her way during award season, as does Giamatti and Sessa. This is about them bonding and surviving this chilly late December in 1970. Timeless slice of humanity, very wise and moving film from the great director and screenwriter Alexander Payne, who did Sideways and About Schmidt. All right, here's one that's a little off the beaten track. Okay. I don't think a lot of people have mentioned it. How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which is about an unlikely team of environmental activists who want to take on the fossil fuel industry and more. This is one of the smartest and best executed thrillers I've seen in a long time. Relative unknowns in the cast, and it's a detailed portrait of this committed group of rebels, how they came together, and a really tense depiction of their plan and how it may or may not achieve their ends, with kind of treacherous possibilities in front of them. It's adapting a book by Andreas Malm, and it's very cinema verite, and director-screenwriter Daniel Goldhaber has delivered a movie that's topical and relevant and volatile, action and mystery and character study. I loved it. Killers of the Flower Moon finds the master of the cinematic arts, Martin Scorsese, in great form. This is a triumph, and it is an expansive and stirring investigation into the notorious reign of terror that plagued the Osage Nation in Oklahoma, the Native American tribe, during the 20s. This is a long movie, almost 3.5 hours, but it never lags. Historical epic about the persecution of the Native American population. It's a murder mystery and police procedural. It's a love story, multiple family saga, and a tale of culture clash. And Scorsese expertly orchestrates this, and it's enriched by fantastic performances from Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons, and Lily Gladstone, the latter of whom almost steals the film, the least known of the 4 actors. Killers of the Flower Moon. Monster is Hirokazu Koreeda's latest film. This guy's the world-class Japanese director who has made these movies that invariably caused me to tear up. That's right, me, the hard ass. Correa makes films that move me to tears. Shoplifters, Broker, the incredibly heartbreaking Nobody Knows, all of which have to do with the well-being of children at risk for the most part, even though they're very different films. And he has continued this impressive string with Monster, which also concerns child welfare, although here in the context of school bullying and parental neglect and the implicit failings of educational systems. Beautiful, beautiful film, and all the bizarre and different points of view that look at this thing either distort or show only a small part of the bigger picture, which reminds me a little bit of, I will bring him up again, Akira Kurosawa, but in this case, his movie Rashomon. Oppenheimer, truly a blockbuster at 3 hours long. It's filmmaker Christopher Nolan's epic and meticulously rendered movie biography of J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was the father of the A-bomb, and it has all the majesty and fearful power of a nuclear explosion. That's right, I said it. Anyway, Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders is haunting as Oppenheimer, the brilliant left-leaning physicist whose approach to building a bomb would defeat the Axis in World War II and also launched the atomic age. Great performances by Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon and Kenneth Branagh among the cast members, and Florence Pugh as Oppenheimer's lover and Emily Blunt as his wife. It is thrilling, absorbing, and meaningful. Poor Things is next on the list. Stunning in every sense of the word. It's the latest ambitious and invariably idiosyncratic presentation from the maverick Greek director Yorgos Lanthimos. And this is a reimagining of the tale of Frankenstein as unhinged social commentary. And it mixes body horror, sexual politics, feminist manifesto, and a kind of Candide-like coming-of-age story set in Britain in the late 1800s at first. Willem Dafoe plays a deformed, controlling genius, and in his lab, he resurrects a young woman named Bella. But when she's brought to life and she finds what life is about and starts to discover her autonomy, things do not go the way the scientist planned. Mark Ruffalo is great in a supporting role as a conniving lawyer, and a terrific performance by Emma Stone as Bella, the newborn, fully grown woman. Let's move on to The Taste of Things, which is set in the Sylvan French countryside circa 1885, and it's a beautiful, passion-infused and appetite-sharpening mix of Belle Epoque period drama, love story, and foodie movie from the award-winning French-Vietnamese filmmaker Tran Anh Hung, who is the maker of The Scent of Green Papaya, another lovely film with a food connection. And this features Juliette Binoche as incandescent. Oh, she's wonderful. She glows here as Eugenie, whose kitchen skills have enhanced the reputation of her boss, Dodin, as one of the great chefs of the era. Dodin, played by Benoit Magimel, wants to woo Eugenie and get her to commit to their 2 decades romance by preparing exquisite meals for her. And we are party to the preparation and consumption of these glorious repasts. And I'll just wrap up my top 10 with The Zone of Interest, which is a chilling and chilly movie from British director and co-screenwriter Jonathan Glazer. It's an adaptation of the novel by Martin Amis about the mundane but privileged family life of an SS officer who serves as the commandant of the Auschwitz concentration camp during World War II. His wife and children live with him in a nice house next to the camp, and they go about their daily endeavors, entertaining guests, unfazed by the evil happening beyond their garden wall. This is a powerful movie and a very fascinating and original take on the Holocaust. I thought The Zone of Interest draining and absolutely brilliant. So that's my top 10.
Awesome.
Maybe I'll talk about some of my other favorites with Mark next week, things that didn't make the cut. But I definitely want to talk briefly about some TV programs that have come to my attention. What do you say?
We don't have a lot of time left. So what are we looking at on TV? What are if I'm looking for something new to watch, what's the Michael Snyder recommendation?
Well, I'll tell you what. I will I will have to say that I don't know that it would necessarily be your cup of tea.
Okay.
Because, we all have different tastes and what have you.
Yeah.
But I actually have had a great time watching Such Brave Girls on Hulu. It's created and written by Kat Sadler, a young woman in the UK, a comedian and comedy writer, and she and her sister in real life, Lizzie Davidson, play 20-something sisters, Josie, depressed and suicidal and closeted, and Billy, who is desperate for attention, sex-obsessed and a little dim, and with their nightmare of a single mother, are the most selfish and needy family imaginable, and they are brutally funny. Such Brave Girls is 6 half-hour episodes, and I loved it, and it's just absolutely brilliant. And I also quickly want to mention 2 animated things. Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix is one of the most beautiful animated things I've ever seen, film or television, and it's a period drama set in Japan, and our titular samurai is a half-breed. A Westerner has basically mated with a Japanese woman, and the child is an outcast because at that juncture in history, Japan wanted to eliminate any and all white interlopers from the country, and it's just exciting and funny, and again, one of the most beautifully animated things I have ever seen in my entire movie and TV going experience.
There's never been anything like this.
Okay, and the next one?
Well, I will stick it to animation. What If Season 2 from Marvel via Disney Plus, and again, maybe you're not a Marvel fan. Maybe you are. And this is a series of half-hour animated stories that suggest what would happen if things didn't play out as we know them to play out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I just want to tell you, the voice actors reprising their live-action roles from Marvel movies include Kate Blanchett, Jeffrey Wright, Sam Jackson, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Haley Atwell, Benedict Cumberbatch, Paul Rudd, Mark Ruffalo, Michael Douglas, Sam Rockwell, and more. So they all committed to this thing, and it's fascinating. If you are a Marvel fan, this is a wonderful, wonderful set of stories. And again, it's the second season, both of which are available on Disney Plus.
Okay, well, I have written down your list. And if anybody wants the list, please email me, kim@theafterparty.live, and I will send it out to you. Michael Snyder, thank you for being here. Happy New Year, my friend.
Same to you. And honest to God, I want to thank everybody involved in the Mark Thompson Show. Happy New Year to all. May you never get too old to forget the Lang Syne or to make some good new times with your acquaintances, be they old or otherwise.
Thank you, Michael Snyder. Happy New Year to you. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Snyder.
Hey, go Niners!
Go Niners indeed. All right. A quick thank you again to Calvin Wong for the $51.50, to Tiff MLA for the $50, also to Asley for the $50, and to Deborah for the $10. Huge thank you. Wonderful comment from Jason. Congratulations on 3 great weeks, Kim and Albert and Tony. We love you, Jason and Samantha from San Rafael. Jason, thank you. Great way to wrap it up. When we meet again after the new year, it will be Mark Thompson in the captain's chair. Thank you for sticking with me through the fill-in days here on the Mark Thompson Show. We'll start the Mark Thompson Show in 2024 with everybody in their rightful spots, so it should be really good. Happy New Year, and thank you for being with us today and all your participation in the show. We love you guys. So Happy New Year. I hope everyone has a healthy and safe celebration. We'll see you in 2024. Happy New Year, Albert. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
All the time. Bye-bye.